Okay, we are doing the global execution context again. This way I will do in different way. So we have to understand what is global execution context. So for a moment, just forget about the global execution context. Let's see what happens when JavaScript runs. One second, let me. Okay, so let's see what happens when JavaScript runs. So I have a code. So I have the code. I will write some code, function A. And I have another function B. And from function A, I start with console.log, line 1 in A. And then I call B function here inside A. And I call the console.log, line 2 in A. And in the console.log B, I am in B. Okay, so this is the 2 lines of the code, and then I create some variable A equal to 10, and I create variable B equal to, this is the code, and then I call the A function. Before A function, I call the console.log, A is A. Let me write on this X and this Y. Okay, I'm just writing randomly any code. Don't worry about the code one, what I'm writing. Forget about what I'm writing. I'm writing some lines of the code. So what do you think? This line of code will be in which scope? Whether it will be in the global scope or in some local scope of any other function. I want the answer. Unmute yourself and answer. What will happen? This code will be present in the global space, or it will be in some function space. I want answer. Mike, unmute yourself and answer. I will not see the chat. Anyone? Okay, mic is not working. Okay, anyone's mic working? They can unmute yourself and answer me. When I'm running this code, whether it will run in the global space or it will run in the some function space or in somewhere else.
Global space, sir.
Okay, tell your name first. Okay, Anand, you're Anand, right? Anand. Okay, first tell your name and answer it. So I know who is answering. Because I want to understand who is answering. Okay, so this is running in the global space. Since it is running in the global space, I will consider this as a global execution context because it is running in the global space. So let's consider it as global execution context. Okay, let me reduce the size to 100. Okay. Okay, since this is running in the global space, I will consider this as a global execution context. So global execution context is nothing but the global scope where we are running all the code. Okay, now global execution context has 2 parts. One part is called the creation. One part is called creation. And another part is called execution. Okay, so when we run the code, it runs in the 2 phases. One is called creation and one is called execution. In the creation, some steps are some steps are processed. What are those steps? We'll see here. And in the execution, the code runs line by line. So whatever I have written this will run line by line. That is the work of this execution. Before execution, there is some steps which JavaScript takes, that is called the creation. Now when I open this console.log, when I put this, you will see this is an object and it has the name and value pair. It has the name and value. So whenever the script runs in the global space, we always see we have the access to this variable, and this variable has all this name value pair of the variables. These are the variables. So that means somehow this might be created when we run the global space. Is it right or wrong? Say yes or no. Since we need this variable and it is available this variable, so it must be somehow created at one step. Is it true or false? Yes. So answer is yes. Only one person is answering another. Otherwise, all people are not in a mood to talk, I think. Okay. So we see we have the access to the global variable. That is this. So how is this created? This is created inside the creation phase. This is created here. So before the code runs, this variable is created. And what is this variable? This variable is nothing but the global object. This is also called the global object. Now what is object? I will explain again, those who don't know. I will explain that in a bit. So this is nothing but global object. Okay, so whenever we run the code, this variable is created, and this variable is nothing but the global object. So in the creation phase, this is always created, and this is pointing to the global object, and it may have key value pair. And if we are running in the browser, it will have some different key value pair. But when we run on the Node.js, it will have different key value pair. Right now, since we are in the browser, we see these are the key value pair available to the global object. But when we go to the Node.js, we will see it will have different key value pair. So depending on where you are running your code, the global object changes. Okay, so this second step is done here. Now if you remember that I told you before that if I do console.log of x here, before writing the function, if I do console.log of x, and x is defined here, what will be the value here? What will be the value of x here if I am writing console.log before defining x? What will be the value of console.log? Uday is saying error. So since x is there in the global space in the page, therefore x will not give error because it is already here in the global in the space. So x will not give error, but it will give undefined value. Now why it is giving undefined value? Because I told you, because of hoisting, every variable is moved to the top of the page. What is happening? Every variable value will not be moved, only the variable x will be moved to the top of the page. So whenever I am writing console.log, actually var x is above it, without value. Since it is without value, so we are getting console.log of x as undefined. And this one also will move at the top. This is done hiddenly. You don't see it on the screen because your code will start from here. These two lines are done hiddenly when the JavaScript runs. So this process is called, what is it called? This process of moving of variables and functions to the top of the page is called what? Hoisting. It is called hoisting. So therefore, hoisting must have been taken place at some point of the time. So when it is taken place in the global execution context, when this variable is created, after this variable is created, we see the hoisting process. So after this, hoisting is done. Hoisting process is done here. Okay. And what is hoisting process? We have done already, and everybody knows it. If you don't know, you can ask me. I will explain you again. So hoisting is done in this creation phase. So whenever you run the JavaScript, before it runs line by line, it does some step, and that step is called the creation phase of the global execution context. And what happened in the creation phase? This variable is created, and this is nothing but the global object. And hoisting process is done. That means all the variable and functions are moved to the top. Move to the top means they are moved to the memory space. And that hoisting process is done here. So once hoisting process is done, now the JavaScript will run all the code line by line. That is called execution phase. Now what it will run? It will run, since this is a function, this is not invoking of the function. So this is already in the memory, so it will not run. This will not run. I'm going line by line the code. No need to run this because this is only the function definition. It's not invocation. It's not calling the function. So it is already in the memory. So this is not run. This is also not run. But this is run. So that means when I say execution, code will run line by line. That means 10 will be assigned to X. 100 will be assigned to Y. Then what will happen? Then console.log of X will happen. X is X. So let's see the execution phase. In the execution phase, what will happen? Okay, let me write down. Code will run line by line. That is, variable X will be assigned the value of 10. One line done. Okay, I'm marking right. Then Y will be assigned 100. This is done. Now what is the next line? Next line is the console.log of X. So this one will execute console.log. So next will be the console.log. Console.log of X. So this line is executed. And all other lines will be executed line by line. So this is called the execution. Is this clear? Okay, I will ask again. This part I will ask again. Whenever we run the JavaScript code, global execution context is created. What happened in the creation phase? What is the first part it happens? Just answer me. Unmute yourself, answer it, or answer it in chat if your mic is not working. The global object is created. Global object is created, this one. And what else?
Hoisting process done in creation phase.
Okay, after global object, this variable is attached to the global object. So that is this. So once global object is created, and this is pointing towards the global object. So these are the two steps. So this is pointing to the global object, and global object is created in this phase. Then hoisting is done. So creation is done. Then what happened? The code will run line by line, ting, ting, ting. And if all the lines are run, the global execution context is ended, and our code will end. Is this clear? This part? Any doubt? I will repeat again. Anything you have not understood in this part? Okay. So when running the global execution context, let's talk about this one. I'm not able to delete it. Okay, when running the global execution context, what happened if the script sees the function call like this, a colon colon? What happens when we see the invocation of the function? So here we are invoking the function. When we invoke the function, it will not go here till it completes this A. So once first it has to complete the A, then it will go to the next line. Okay, so when it sees the A, what happens? This is the called global execution context because it runs all the code line by line. Okay, let's create another page. Now what happens when it sees the function like A, this A? Let's talk about this one. Okay, so there is a, think that there is a bucket. There is a bucket like this. Okay, this is the bucket and global execution context is running in this bucket. This is what global execution context. Okay, so global execution context is running here. It is here because it is running, and suddenly this global execution context sees that there is a function called. What is the function called? A. We are invoking the function A. As soon as it sees the function call, it will create another execution context that is called the function execution context. So this function execution context is created. This is called function execution context because A is invoked and that A is called the function execution context. We can also write A. That means we should know which function execution context is called. Now this function execution context will run line by line the code inside the function. What is the line by line code? Console.log of line 1. So this will be printed on the screen. Line 1 in A. Now after the first line, it sees the B function invocation. Now you tell me what will happen if it sees the B. So A is running now. Initially global was running and I called A. Now A is running. I run the line number 1. Now I call the B function. Now what will happen if I call the B function? Answer me. Unmute yourself and answer.
Create another context for B function.
Okay, since it is another function, the JavaScript will create another function context on top of it. Okay, and that top of the context is called, it is also called a function execution context. And I will name it as a B because the name of the function is B. And then it will run line by line code of inside the B. Okay, let's do it here. So since it sees the B, so it will not go here. It will now run all the line by line code in the B. And what is the line by line code here? Is the console.log. I am in the B. So whenever we run the B, it will run this console.log. Which console.log? This one. And as soon as this line is completed, the function is over. And once the function is over, this top execution context will be deleted. It will be gone from the, it will be gone. And since it will be gone, again the script will continue running the function A. Because we started B in between, as soon as the B is gone, it will again go to the next line of the code. And after this line of the code, function A is completed. And as soon as the function A is completed, you will see this function call will also be gone, deleted. And since this is deleted, again the process will go to the global execution context. And in the global execution context, it will run whatever is written after A. After A, what is the line? This line. So it will run this line. And once this line is done, then this global execution context will also be deleted. And there will be nothing in the call stack. This bucket is called call stack. call stack, and the process is over. That means your all script is done and processed. So is this clear at this point? Whatever I explained is clear, or you have any doubt? So do remember the one at the bottom. If this is the at the bottom global execution context, this is the bottom global execution context, and then we have another one, function A, and then we have function B. So the one which is in the top is the currently running at this point. Okay, so this is global, this is function A, this is function B. So the one which is at the top will be running at the current time. As soon as this is done, this will be deleted. This will be deleted, and it will start running the. Since the top one is deleted, the script will start running the bottom one, that is the second one. And after A is done, this is also deleted. A is deleted, and then it will go to the global scope again. And in the global space, it will run the code line by line, and then it is deleted once it is done. So if function is invoked, it will come at the top and it will run. If another function is called, it will come on top of it and then it will run. And as soon as that function is over, it will get deleted, then this get deleted, and then this get deleted. This is called the global execution context. And most of the JavaScript interview, this question is asked about the call stack and global execution context. So remember this point very thoroughly. And when we create the global execution context, two parts are there. One is creation, where we have created this variable from the global object, and we do hoisting process. And then execution happens, where the code will run line by line. So these two images you should remember when learning about the global execution context. I gave you the link to the document also. You can study more about the global execution context. Okay, that's all for global execution context. We have another concept which I will not take today. I will take after 10-15 days, and that concept is called, because if I take, you will be mixed with the global execution context, but I will just give the name of that. It is called event queue. There is another list in JavaScript that is called event queue, which we will not take today. We will take after 10-15 days. Okay, so this is all about global execution context. Okay, let's move further. Now let's talk about the object. What are objects in JavaScript? Okay, so objects are nothing but name or key value pair is called object. The running process is a form of queue, sir. Okay, one question is running process is formed out of queue. Okay. So just one, I will answer one question. One person is asking, running process is in the form of the queue, sir. So this I created a bucket. You see, I created this bucket, and initially global context is here, and once the function A is called, it will come on the top of it, and once the function B is called, it will come top of the it. So the one which is going into bottom will come out in the last. So this is called the stack, not the queue. So this is called a stack. If you run data structure, this is the stack, not the queue. Okay, but there is event queue, which we will see later. But this is the process which I explained just now. It is nothing but a stack. And this bucket is called the call stack. Okay, so don't think that it is a queue. It is a stack, because the one which comes first will go in the last, and the one which comes last will go first. Okay, so what are the objects in JavaScript? It is a key value pair, And how it is created? I will create one object var obj. I start with the curly bracket, end with the curly bracket in the object, and here I will start writing the key value pair. So key will be, let's say, name, and in the name I will put Jack Bauer. Okay, now I will put comma. Okay, I by mistake press enter. Let's do it again. So I put the name, and then I will put age. What is the age? Let's say 50 years. So this key value pair, that is, I give the key, then I put colon, and I give the value. So each object have different key value pair, and the value can be string. It can be string, boolean, number, another object. It value can be function, value can be array, anything. So this value can be anything, and this is called age. I can put address, and address can be another object. So I put curly bracket, and inside this address I can say city. Maybe I can say Foster City, and I can say state. I can say California, and then I can say country. Here it will be USA. So what I created the object with curly bracket start and curly bracket end. It has a key value pair, and value can be anything: string, boolean, number, object, function, or array. And I created another key, that is address, and it has a value of another object. So this is object, and I have the key value pair again, because object has key value pair. And I can create another one with array, for example hobbies, and I give array, and in the array I will say chess, badminton, etc. So I created one object, and if I want to see that object, I will see just obj, and I can see complete object is there, name is there, hobbies is there, age is there, address is there, and address is another key value pair. So this is called object. So this is just a short introduction. What is objects in JavaScript? Those who don't know, who are new in the JavaScript, they know how this is an object. People coming from Java background or another background, they just consider this as a dictionary, but in JavaScript we call it as a object. Okay, so this is the object. Now let's create one function A, and I will put console.log or hello world. So what I created a function A. Now what will happen when I invoke the function? What will happen? It will display the hello world because I have written console.log A. But what will happen if I just say A? I will not invoke it. I'm not invoking it. I'm saying just A. If I say just A, you will see it looks like it's whatever I have written. Whatever I have written, this code, line of the code, it is displaying that line of code here. So if I put A, it will only copy this code here and display it. It will not invoke it. It will not run console.log. That is, it will not run hello world. What is it doing? It will only show what is the code for A. And what is the code for A? We see this console.log. So this is the thing you should remember, that we can call the function with the name of the function, but without invoking it, then it will show the code which is behind the scene of this function. Is that clear? Difference between this and this. If you write only A without invoking it, it will show the code. But if you invoke it, invoke means if you call round bracket, then it will invoke it, and whatever is written, it will execute one by one. So right now there's only one line. It is executing hello world. Is this clear difference between these two? Okay, now let's say if I have another function B, and I'm putting A here. Okay, I'm passing an argument A, and I will write down console.log A is A. Okay, so what will happen? Let's see. If I pass B 1, so it's saying A is 1. Now, let me write down the function B again. And I will pass A again here. But I want to see, I will just pass console.log and I will say arguments. I just want to see arguments. Okay, this arguments is created by JavaScript when the function is executed. So you don't have to, you have not defined this argument before it. But since it is a default keyword of JavaScript and it is invoked by JavaScript, so you don't see it defining it anywhere, but it is there. Okay, so if I do arguments and then if I call B1, you will see the arguments is an array kind of thing. It's not real array, but it's a kind of array where it has the 0th position, the value of 1. That is the 0th position. That is the first position. I am passing 1 and it is saying 0 of 1. What happens if I call B1 hello true? I'll pass an object and then I'll pass another array, for example. So when I pass this many arguments in here, though B, when I write the B, I have written only A. I have not written any other parameter. But when I'm calling it, I'm calling with different parameters. So what will happen in the arguments, I will get all the parameters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's saying arguments of the 5. And you will see 0 will be having 1, 1 will be having hello, 2 will be having true, 3 will be an object, and 4 will be array. So in JavaScript, you get the facility to use any argument by using the arguments object or kind of array. It's not really array or object, but you can get arguments array and you can access any parameter here in this argument with the key value pair, because this is the 0th position, 1 position, 2, 3, 4. So even if you don't write with any parameter A, you can access it with the arguments. So this is the benefit in JavaScript, that even if you don't define any parameter here, still you can access it. Still you can access it here in the function call. Is that clear? This arguments part? Any doubt on arguments? So even if I created one, only A, or if I don't create also this one, if I don't put A, then also I can access all the parameters which I am passing. Is that clear? Okay, let me ask the question. Function C, I'm not putting any parameter. Okay, I am not putting any parameter or argument, whatever you call here. Okay, and I will say, so I want console.log. Let's say I know I will be passing age is arguments of 1. I know I will be passing 2 argument and the argument 1 will be age. So I'm writing like this here. Now what happened when I call the C? In the first one I am passing the thing, and in the second one I am passing 50, because I know second one I have to pass age, because my function is accessing age with argument 1. So when I say enter, so here saying age is 50. So though I have not written anything here, I know at the 1 number position I will passing age. Therefore I am showing it here age. Maybe I want to, tomorrow I want to pass name in the first one Jack and age in the second one 46. So I can pass age is showing argument 1. I can copy again. I create another function, and I will say, maybe I can say the name is I will say argument 0, because I am knowing that I will be passing at first position I will passing the name like this, and the second position I will passing argument. So this one. So if I call C Jack with age of 45, for example, let's say name is Jack, age is 45. So this argument is a default array which you get in function, and it will take the parameter which is passed in this function. So if you know that you will be passing argument 0 as a name, then you can use this way. But if you don't know, then you can pass, you can create with the parameters, and then you can pass parameter 1, parameter 2, then you can pass parameter 1 and 2. But if you know that first one will always come name and second one will always come age, then you can use arguments. But if you know, but if you want to fix it, you can also fix with this way. I can pass param1 also and param2 also. Either way is okay. JavaScript is very lenient. Whatever you want to do, you can do. So this is about simple concept of the C. Tomorrow we will see much more advanced function tomorrow, because function is very big subject in JavaScript, and we'll be doing lot more things in the function. So let's do more functions tomorrow. So for today, just the basic of function I showed you. But tomorrow we will go in depth of the function, and most of them are asked in the interview, and I will show you what people ask in the JavaScript interview about the function. So we will be doing different types of function. What are the first class functions? What are the anonymous function? And we'll see more about the functions tomorrow. Any questions or doubt in current today's lecture, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we'll see more functions tomorrow.